Hey, resetters. Hey, quick caveat before the episode begins. Unfortunately, it did not publish on Saturday when I set for it to publish, so you are going to hear references to having a great Saturday and having a great weekend. My apologies for the technical difficulties, but nevertheless, the content is needed on any day. All right, enjoy. Happy Saturday to you, resetters. Coming to you from my desk before I get started for the day, but I wanted to make sure that I got a episode out for you this week. It's been a crazy hectic week, so apologies that the episode didn't come out Thursday morning like normal, but we're going to jump right on in. So the title of this particular podcast is called Good Benefits. And in my culture, in my community, it was always stressed to find a job that gave you good benefits, right? Or even to find you a man that had good benefits, right? That brought something to the table. And so we're going to talk about medical benefits, particularly we're going to talk about HMOs, PPOs. I'll touch a little bit on EPOs. I don't see those very often, but I'll at least let you know what that is and what the difference is. And then I really want to dig in today as a part of the Spring Cleaning, Get Your House in Order series that we're going through. I really want to touch on where you need to do a little homework to ensure you are prepared to use your benefits, right? And to use them as best and most efficiently as possible. So let's jump in. So if you are working a 9 to 5, or if you are someone who owns your own business or you pay for your benefits out of pocket, you may have prescribed to either an HMO, which is a health maintenance organization plan. The most popular HMO that most of us may know is Kaiser, right? Or a PPO, and that's a preferred provider organization, which is also an option that many employers provide. And then there is something called an EPO, and that's an exclusive provider organization. So the difference between the three, so this is more so the medical benefits, the differences. So an HMO, those are usually your less expensive plans. Like I said, if you've been someone that's either been with Kaiser for a long time and you're most familiar with Kaiser, Kaiser's one of the most familiarized HMOs out there. They're usually cheaper. Everything is in-house. The network is restricted. So if you have Kaiser, you are expected to use Kaiser's network of providers, their doctors, their pharmacies, their services, everything goes through Kaiser. And there is a level of choice, but within Kaiser's umbrella. And I've been a Kaiser member for a very, very long time. Now, switching over to PPO plans, I've also had the opportunity to be a part of a PPO based on what my current, not current now, but my current employer was providing at the time. Now, a PPO is going to come with a higher price tag. Now, when I say a price tag, it depends also about your employer, or it depends about the plan that you may have purchased outright. If you have signed up for your medical benefits through your employer, you may have premiums that you pay. And the premiums are your contribution that's taken usually out of your check on either a bi-monthly or a monthly basis, depending upon if you are the only one that actually is receiving the benefit, or if you are signed on with your husband, wife, or dependents, children. The pricing of your premium may be different based on those things. For the PPO, the premium is going to be a little bit more expensive. It's going to come with a higher price tag, and that is because, just like the name says, you have the opportunity to pick who you want as your provider organization, your preferred provider organization. You get a chance to pick your own doctor. Let's say that you're changing jobs and you've had a doctor not part of Kaiser or what have you for a really long time. You do not desire to change your doctor. If the offering in your benefits package comes with a PPO plan offering for your medical benefits, you may decide to take on the higher price tag to keep the level of care and the familiarity with your doctor that you already have. So you have a little bit more flexibility when it comes to the network. You have control overseeing whoever you decide is your healthcare professional, and it doesn't matter who they're connected to. Now, as far as an EPO plan is an exclusive provider organization. Now, an exclusive provider organization, it's kind of a hybrid. So, Cover California and Health for California, they describe an EPO as essentially a hybrid of HMO and PPO plans. There still is an exclusive network you use, but you don't have to commit to a PCP or have them refer specialists. And a PCP, that is your primary care provider. So you do not have to commit to a PCP or a primary care provider. You could bounce around even if you wanted to, but it can be a little more restrictive. But once again, the most familiar most people are aware of is an HMO and a PPO. So now here's where I come into really being clear about the structure of your health plans. And I'm going to include dental plans in here. Vision sometimes also comes in play as well. What I want you to be clear about is what is covered and what is provided in these plans. So, for example, in your medical plan, right? Let's say whatever healthcare insurance you may have chosen, the expected coverages is going to be your hospitalization, outpatient services, things that don't require an overnight stay, your pharmacy, prescriptive drug costs, preventative care, maternity care is usually included, and absolutely emergency care if you have to go to the emergency room. Those are the things that we automatically expect to be in our coverage, with the exception sometimes of mental health and substance abuse. Sometimes those things are included. Sometimes that's an additional cost or option. Another thing that has started to become popular in medical plans is chiropractic care. That is not normally something that's included under the umbrella of coverage. But once again, if this is something you may be paying out of pocket, I surely am paying out of pocket for chiro care because it is not a part of my Kaiser coverage, but it is something that I need to maintain my health and wellness. But you want to make sure that you are absolutely sure it's not covered. The worst thing you can do is be paying out of pocket for something you already have coverage for and that your premiums are giving you access to. So there's your number one. Double check your coverage so you know exactly what is in your plans and what you have access to. The other thing is cost sharing. Now, here's where your homework comes into play for real. Now, health insurance plans, dental included, often involve a cost sharing model. There are some employers that take care of your premiums. They completely pay for your medical, dental, and vision. So you are not paying premiums out of your check. Your job is paying those for you. I think, if you have that case, that is something I absolutely bring up to candidates when I am investigating opportunities to recruit them, is that there's a great benefits package. And one of those includes your 100% cost savings on your medical, dental, and vision premiums. But if your job is not one of those that pays 100% of that cost, there's a cost sharing amount there. And usually there's some kind of percentage where you pay monthly or annually that is made by you via your check. So there's a deduction out of your check. And it could be any varying amount. It really does depend on the agreement and the contract that your employer and the benefit provider has created. Kaiser and your employer, a PPO and your employer, what have they created that is going to dictate what your premiums are? Now, that's just what comes out of your check. What I want you to focus in on and thinking about in regards to building your budget, thinking about setting money aside, is when we get to deductibles, co-payments, and co-insurance. Those have always been really, really confusing terms. They used to be for me, and they absolutely are when I talk to people about their benefits sometimes. So let's break this down. So a deductible is the amount the insured individual must pay out of pocket before the insurance company begins to cover cost. So for example, if you have a deductible of $1,500, depending upon how your coverage is structured, you would have to pay $1,500 out of your pocket before the insurance company kicks in and covers whatever they're going to cover. All right. So that's super important to know about your coverage. If that's the case, you want to make sure that you have money set aside because you're going to be paying for your co-payments, for prescriptions, like any out of pocket cost that is attributed to your care is truly going to be out of pocket. So you want to be aware of that. Now, co-payments are fixed amounts that are paid by the insured or paid by you for individual specific services or medications. I'm going to speak in regards to Kaiser because that's where my familiarity most lies. So for Kaiser, I have a $10 copay for most services. Go to the doctor. They'll ask me for $10 over the counter. I will take out my card, or in this case, take out my flexible spending card and cover the cost. And then I'm good to go because my coverage, my benefits takes care of the rest of whatever the cost of that visit is. That you want to be aware of, because sometimes I'll tell you, I've had, plans where if you go to the emergency room, that's a copay of $100. So you're paying $100 right there across the counter to be seen in emergency. Sometimes if there are specialist or specific visits that you have to actually go to. And so that is a copay that's a bit higher. I think the last time I checked, it was a $50 copay where I normally would pay $10 across the Kaiser network for anything else. And then, of course, there's copays that are connected to your actual prescriptions. So the prescription amount may be one amount, but you're responsible to pay 10, 15, 20, whatever has been negotiated with your employer or in the plan if you purchase the plan individually. So that's copayments. Once again, money out of pocket. And then you have something called coinsurance. There's a percentage of the cost of covered services that you must pay as the insured individual, typically after meeting the deductible. So you got to really be clear if there's a coinsurance caveat to your benefits. So remember, we talked about the deductible is the amount of the insured individual, yourself, what have you, would pay out of pocket before the insurance company begins to cover cost. And then even after they cover cost, based on this definition, there still may be a percentage of cost. But once again, you have to confirm that. There's even a percentage of the cost of the covered services after meeting the deductible. So there is definitely going to be out of pocket costs. Now, I'm going to flip this for you real quick, and I'm going to talk about dental. We're not going to talk so much about vision because vision is pretty straightforward from my experience. But by all means, you all, if there's any questions that you have, feel free to reach out, to put some information in the chat connected to the podcast if you want me to dig in a little deeper. But we're going to talk about dental. So my experience with dental, y'all. So I needed to have a root canal and I needed to have a crown done very recently. Now, Delta Dental is a big major provider of dental benefits. There's some others out there, but Delta, I think I've had Delta Dental with the exception of one job all through my career. So Delta Dental definitely knows how to create contracts and get business with multiple employers. And what has happened is that Delta Dental has changed their network in a way. And I'm going to explain it as best as I can as a customer and not a provider. They've changed their network in a way to where a lot of the dentists, particularly the ones that I contract with and many others I've heard, have decided to go out of network. I don't know what the incentive was for that or if there was an incentive, but my provider, they have all gone out of network with Delta. Now, let's talk about in network and out of network, because that can apply across medical, dental, vision as well. In network means that these are doctors that are subscribed to a particular network that you are connected to. So in this case, Delta Dental had a network of dentists that fell in network. And usually you get better pricing because you're working with a doctor that's already connected and affiliated with them. The other benefit of dealing with a dentist or a provider that is in network is that they have direct billing with that provider, in this case with Delta Dental. With my dentist going out of network, now we've severed the tie of the direct billing. And also now I'm really looking at the retail pricing of the services that my dentist provides. Before, they were all connected. The pricing was, it made sense. Generally, I would go to the dentist and have whatever service needed to be had. I knew my deductible. Deductibles I've seen range anywhere depending upon how your employer or how you have structured your plan, anywhere from about 2,000, 2,500 a year per covered individual. And that is usually just fine. X-rays, exams, cleanings, things like that. That's normally great. It's when you start getting into some of the specialized care. So once again, root canal, crown, bridges, orthodontia, things like that. They're a little bit more advanced that you really want to make sure that you're looking at that deductible and you're really making sure that you have some cushion saved for your care. So I give you all that backstory to say that now I'm dealing with my dentist who's no longer in network with Delta Dental. They are out of network, which means they do not bill directly anymore. That's my responsibility to take care of the billing with them and to deal with Delta Dental. And their pricing is pretty much now gone to retail. So the discounted pricing that they would have negotiated with Delta Dental for Delta Dental insured patients no longer is in play. Now, I did do have a couple of options, right? I could decide to find another dentist and, find a dentist that stayed connected with Delta Dental and do that. That would probably be the easiest way to go, right? But what that's also going to do is it's also going to make me spend time to research and find a dentist, build a relationship, a comfortability. And also, we're talking about a dentist for a 7-year-old who already is a little nervous about the dentist. So, that right there of disturbing the comfort that my little one has already established with the dentist he's going to, and it's already a new dentist. So we've kind of just got over that hump of finding a new dentist that will actually bill directly, that is in network. If this dentist decided to be out of network with Delta Dental, it would be a nightmare. So really, that's not an option for me right now. I've been going to the same dentist in network for years and having just a really good rapport. I'm very, very happy with the work that they do. I do understand that there's an additional probably level of cost because of the care that I get, but I'm okay with that. And I'm making these decisions knowingly, right? That's the most important thing I want to share with you is that you're making decisions, you're spending money with full knowledge and full accountability, right? That you're not spending money you didn't know you were spending. So let me break down to you my experience here and why your next assignment at the end of this podcast is to really look at all of your benefits, look at what you are receiving, and also, if you haven't been doing so, tucking away maybe $20 a check or what have you to your medical envelope, right? If you are doing cash-based budgeting, you have an envelope that's like, medical care, whatever you title it, or you're putting some money away in savings because you never know. Short story, I have a crown, I have a root canal that has to happen. Well, remember, now I'm looking at the shelf prices, right? As if I'm in the grocery store and I'm looking for, well, how much is a root canal on this shelf? And how much is a crown on this shelf? Because they're two different costs. A root canal for me, you all, was $1,694. There was also some nitric oxide, laughing gas connected to that, which, in the future, I can totally request that they not have. That was an additional $170. Now, mind you, my dentist no longer is in network with Delta Dental, which means they do not bill Delta Dental for these costs. They will get an estimate of what what Delta Dental will probably pay. But until that payment comes through, which now is a check directly to me as the insured person, you have to cover these costs up front. And so what most dentists will do is whatever the estimate is that comes back that says, hey, Delta Dental will actually pay this much. If you go ahead and have the service, Delta Dental will pay this much. You're going to be responsible for this much. But you have to pay up front. And that's something I hadn't had to do, before. So mind you, in full transparency, y'all, I was not prepared to pay a fraction of $1,694 to get my root canal booked. But when you are in pain or you are in discomfort or you need care, you will figure it out, right? And so I ended up putting that on a card because I didn't want to pull that from a savings. We got stuff going on right now. We got a kid that's graduating in a couple of weeks from college. Like I just, because I knew it was going to be temporary, I went ahead and put it on a credit card. But had I known that, I probably wouldn't have made that decision, even temporary, but I did. So I had to put a portion of this $1,694 on a credit card. I also had to pay a portion of the crown because the crown was $1,760. So if you're doing some math, 1694 plus $170 plus $1,760 plus an additional 440 for them to actually do the pins and the buildup and the stuff that they have to do in order for the actual crown to seal and all of those things. We're talking about, I don't even have my calculator in front of me right now to give you those factors, but we are talking about a good chunk of money. I think by the end of the day, it was like 3,000 or close to $4,000 of dental work before the insurance kicked in. So my message to you all, is be prepared because it took several weeks for the insurance company to mail me a check, and they came in denominations. It just didn't come in one lump sum. It came into denominations, and then for me to pay the remaining balance. So the remaining patient portion, by the time I got the checks, right, they covered some of what I had paid out of pocket because I still had an out of pocket portion I had to pay. They didn't cover the whole thing. I ended up with a patient portion of about $1,553. Most of that was paid with the insurance money, but I had to get the check, cash the check, pay them directly. It was just a lot. And this is once again because I am choosing to keep my provider. I say all of that to say, y'all, is make sure you're saving some money. That's really the moral of the story, is that you are setting aside money, whether it's holistic savings and you can just pull from it however you want to pull from it. If it's cash-based budgeting and you are allocating savings and funds to individual categories, it's situations like this that pop up, things that you don't expect, that throw you off course, y'all. That can absolutely throw you off course, is something that got to be done. You cannot function and be hurting, but there's a way that we can, you know, look out for these things. Try to be maybe even 50% prepared for things like this that come up, because life is life. Y'all know I say that. Life is life, and life be lifing sometimes. And it was not negotiable for me to take care of my teeth. It's a part of my health. It's, had to get that done. So I'm gonna close that out, y'all. I wanted to give you some food for thought. I wanted to give you some homework. Check what's covered. Check what you're paying out of your check. I know you get your check, every 2 weeks or every month. I know if you are, an entrepreneur or a small business owner, you expect a certain amount from the profits that you're making or what have you. But check and see what exactly you are being covered for, and what expectations of you will you have to actually meet financially in this coverage, so that you can be prepared. Because as they say, what G.I. Joe says, and knowing is half the battle. Yeah, it really is, for real. No lie. All right, y'all. Have an amazing weekend. Comment in the comments below. Did this give you value? Was this helpful? Did this give you food for thought to think about the future, plan for the future? And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. We are on Apple Podcasts now. Finally, I'm an Apple girl, so this really hits my heart in a whole different way. We are on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, we're on Google Podcasts for now. And you can even get the podcast on my channel on YouTube. There is so many ways for you to get this content. We are on episode 10, y'all. I said I would do 12 and I would see how things are going. And I'm actually getting some really great feedback from y'all. But give me more. Let me know if this is helping, and let me know if there's something else that you really want me to talk about that has to do with money and savings, or any of the things. And I would love to do that. All right. God bless you. I love you. God loves you no matter what. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.